Hello and welcome to Sweet Spot DFS. This is a review for the 2020 Sony Open, where Cameron Smith won. It's his first win on tour, not in a team event. So he won the Zurich Classic when that became a team event with Jonas Blix. I think it was 2 years ago. Could have been last year. I don't quite remember, but yeah, it was kind of a thrilling victory. It was another playoff. Where he went, I wouldn't say toe-to-toe with Brendan Steele, but that was his playing contender. And boy, did Brendan Steele choke that away. Going forward, I think, like, what should we take from this? I think Cameron Smith is now a proven winner. I don't have that much confidence in Brendan Steele. I X'd him out of this tournament. I did not even consider playing him, which is kind of at my fault. He did fall into one of the buckets that I talked about in the preview, but I just disregarded that because he fell off a while ago, and I don't know what happened. It is the start of the new year. He did have time off to, play up his game, whatever, to make adjustments in his golf swing and that kind of thing. Just didn't have the greatest confidence. And after watching that, he's a proven veteran. I mean, I shouldn't say, yeah, he's a proven veteran. I think he has 3 wins. If you're this late in your career and you're choking tournaments like that, it kind of tells a lot. I mean, maybe he'll be a consistent golfer going forward, but I'm gonna reserve my feelings on that. So Cam Smith, great win. Wish I played more of him. I did play some of him, but not enough. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the spreadsheet as we do every review video. I have the recent form tab up right now. This shows you the optimal lineup as well as the $1 GPP winning lineup. I do have all of the points for the DK, or all the DK points up for basically golfers close to the top 10, just to figure out what their score would be for the optimal lineup. And this one was a very easy one to figure out. I mean, 95, these points obviously more than any of the other points that you see below. It all fits in the same lineup, or under the salary. So optimal lineup was 47,800. The $1 GPP winning lineup ended up being a smooth 50,000. This is like maybe the 4th or 5th tournament. I would say this. It was either 4 or 5 out of the last 5 and 6 tournaments where the $1 winning GPP lineup was exactly 50,000 for salary. So it's definitely something to think about. A lot of people think you need to leave money on the table. Obviously, the optimal lineup, you did want to leave money on the table. But to win a $1 GPP, go ahead. Play the entire salary. You just have to have the right guys. So the optimal lineup was Cameron Smith, Brendan Steele, Webb Simpson, Ryan Palmer, Graeme McDowell, and Lanto Griffin. That $1 GPP winning lineup had Cameron Smith, Kevin Kisner, Graeme McDowell, Lanto Griffin, Corey Connors, and Sungjae Im, which Sungjae was a very popular play amongst a lot of the DFS industry. I thought he was a great play. He was also, let's go ahead and go on the DK page. He was also a 1-1. So if I come down to Sungjae, he was a 1-1. And what I want to show you here, we had rules, and I'll show you what those rules were. Here's my 2020 DK lineup construction page. I have these buckets here. Oh, it's kind of difficult to see. So I said you needed to pick one of these last year one, last week one. So what I would call a 1-1. You need to pick one. Now, Ted Potter Jr. was the best result of the 1-1s. But you had a lot of good players, and a lot of these guys were at the top of the leaderboard at any given time. It was a very difficult tournament. There was a lot of weather. It was very soggy, very wet, very windy. So it was a bit more difficult than past Sony Opens were. But yeah, Ted Potter Jr., took it out of this group. He took down, he just took down the group. That's all I need to say. But you did have a lot of people close. I mean, if we go back to here, you see all these 1-1s. And I told you you wanted to play 1 because 1 was guaranteed to be in the top 10. This is the first time it's really fallen outside of the top 5, I believe. Let me double check. So you recall this page here. Yeah, it was the first time it fell outside the top 5 because you had it every single year going back, even in 2015. You had a 1-1. So this is the first time it fell outside the top 5. It was not in the optimal lineup, but if we go ahead and take a look, Ted Potter Jr. was your 1-1. He scored 78 points. You probably would have missed out 13 points, 13 and a half points, which still would have won you the $1 GPP. Of course, it wasn't the optimal lineup. I should have mentioned that. Optimal lineup scored 612 points. The $1 GPP, 549. So there was definitely room for improvement. But I didn't see any lineup inside the top 100. And then I kind of jumped from 100 to 200. I didn't see a single one of them had Brendan Steele in it. Which isn't really a surprise, honestly. Again, I like Brendan Steele. It's a hard golfer to play. I did play some Ted Potter Jr. though. If we were to go back here, I think I can filter this. Yeah, so if I were to go ahead, clear this, just show you all of the 1-1s, you can see the ownership percentage. So Ted Potter Jr. at the bottom. So I played him in one tournament, but as you can see, I played a bunch of 1-1s. I played all of the 1-1s, a few times. Obviously, I had my favorites that I played a little bit more of, but I made sure I sprinkled in at least one. The Ted Potter Jr. lineup wasn't the greatest, so I'm not gonna, say that was super fantastic by me. I'm not gonna toot my own horn. The 2-1s, we'll talk about those last. I don't want to really, we'll talk about those last. There's a little bit to get into that, and I'm not gonna talk much about it. But here are your 1-2s. Obviously, I was a huge fan of Justin Thomas. And you can see my ownership percentage here. I played every single one. A couple of them more than others. Sebastian Munoz was a top one of mine. But as we go to the DK page here, if I were to go ahead and I'll make sure to bring all these guys back, and we just go by 1-2s. One golfer was really close to the top 10. That was Corey Connors. The rest of them missed the cut. 85 here represents a missed cut. So one golfer, Corey Connors, who ended up being in the $1 GPP winning lineup. So 1-2s. That one actually failed to find the top 10. And when we go ahead and look at the lineup page here, let me go ahead and clear all these filters out again. And we look at these percentages here. So I told you wanted to play a 1-1 in 100% of your lineups. That actually still holds true because a golfer finished inside the top 10. That's my rule. If we go down to the 1-2s, which are right here, you could, so if you picked one, there was a 42 to 50% chance, 57% chance to actually find the top 10. We had found multiple years where there were multiple 1-2s. So that's why I have the other percentage. There was a 28 to 41% for there to be two inside the top 10. Well, if you didn't like the price of a lot of these guys, because they were really expensive, you could have avoided this and not play any of them. I wanted to play one. I really like Justin Thomas. So when it comes to the year now, I'm 1 for 2 on picking the winner from the thumbnail. That's going to, Cam Smith and Brendan Steele, probably not front runners for winners at this tournament. I don't feel bad for not picking the winner, but it was disappointing. Justin Thomas could not putt. I think he was like -3 shots gained putting for Thursday, Friday. It was terrible. He was missing 6-foot putts, 7-foot putts, just not even getting close. And there were 3 putts within 6 feet. He just missed. Those 3 putts would have allowed him to make the cut as opposed to miss it. And he had I think he had a good chance for eagle on the last hole, which at the time would have got him inside the cut. But that was one of those putts that he wasn't even close. So I don't know what happened with his putting. Could have been an exhausting, playoff from the week before. I doubt it. He couldn't make any putts. Still, ball striking was good, but not putting. Anyways, so if you would have, removed yourself from this pool, which again, it wasn't 100% mark. You either chose 0 or 100, or you just, sprinkled in lineups to be conservative, which that's my whole strategy. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. We'll go ahead and go back. We'll go to the 2-2s now. So of the 2-2s, we had 2 golfers that finished inside the top 10. We had 1 golfer finish inside the top 5, which was Ryan Palmer, who basically gagged it away. He had a chance to win this tournament. So there's 2 golfers this time or for this group, I should say, that found top 10, which I really liked Ryan Palmer. He looked kind of solid last week. Lanto is an he's a really good scorer, for DraftKings. Let's go ahead and look how many points did he score. He scored 95 points. So he scored more than Ryan Palmer and finished 1 stroke behind him, but 3 places behind him. It kind of goes to show what kind of scoring potential he has on DraftKings. I liked him because of that. I like Ryan Palmer because of that, because he scores a lot of points also. Yeah. So I definitely would consider playing him more and more, especially if he falls into the buckets that we want to play. So that's one way to look at this. Everyone within the 2-2 group made the cut. A lot of people, their favorite golfer was Colin Morikawa. I don't blame them. Definitely, I played him in a bunch of lineups. I don't remember how many, and I don't think it really matters. What was he? He was 10? Okay. So I played him in 22% of my lineups. Really, the only person I didn't play much of in the top was Matt Kuchar and Patrick Reed, which it worked out for me. So yeah, let's go ahead and get to the next bucket, which would be, well, we already talked about the 1-1s, the 2-2s, the 1-2s. Let's go ahead and talk about the 2-1s, which there were a lot of them. If you guys were watching the preview video, I'll show you what my 2-1 lineup looks like. I'm just going to say this right now. It's not everybody because I cut some people out. So you can see the 2-1s right here. If I were just to go ahead and paste here, it's not going to show all of them. Never mind. I'd have to unfilter some stuff. But, okay, let's just do a count. There's 20 golfers in that 2-1 pool. I only have 18. So I cut out 3 golfers. And one of those golfers, believe it or not, was Brennan Steele. Here's your Brennan Steele right here. Henrik Norlander. And you wanted to play, this was the higher percentage coming into this tournament. 66% of golfers that fell under that bucket of 2-1, last year 2, last week 1, made the top 10. And if you were to project that another 2-1 would have finished inside the top 10, that would have increased this tournament history that I have going back to 2013 to 71% of golfers that were 2-1s that finished inside the top 10, which it did. So out of all of these groups, 3 of them hit. The only one that didn't were the 1-2s, which had your more expensive golfers, arguably. Oh yeah, for sure. 79 was your cheapest. And then, of course, the 2 1s you would add super cheap, 68 Ryan Lashley, or Nate Lashley, but you had Lonto Griffin and Ryan Palmer at 75. I mean, it's difficult. So when I made my lineups, you guys would have seen in the preview. Basically, column 1 was my 1-1s. Column 2 were my 2-2s, I believe. Yeah, Colin Morikawa. Column 3 were my 1-2s. Column 4 were my 2-1s. And I did it by these percentages. So I made lineups based off of what I projected. So I thought 57% of lineups would have JT in it. Or not JT, would have a 1-2. If I go ahead and pull up the calculator, it'll show up. All right. Why did it? It's very interesting. I've never seen it do it this way. Okay. Pull up the calculator. So I made 50 lineups, and we wanted 57%. So 50 times 0.57 gave us 28.5. If I wanted to play JT and say, I think it was 40% is what I played him in 11.4. I don't know if that was actually the percentage that I did play him in, but if I scroll up to the top, JT I put in 17 lineups. So I wonder what that was. In all honesty, what probably happened to get me on a higher number, so maybe I went by 29 and I played him in, I wanted 50% of lineups. I still would have, I put him in more than I wanted, which just means in these last 2 columns, I must have some Justin Thomas in there. I might not. I might have just played him in way more and just said, screw it, I want to play it. Okay, so I have 1. Oh, you know what? These lineups I never put in, but I wanted to see how they would have done, which they wouldn't have done well. So let me go ahead. Let's look at this again. I think that was 3 lineups he was taken out of. So there's 15. If I rounded up 29 and rounded up from 14.5. So I wanted to play him in 50% of my lineups. It was 40 or 50. I couldn't remember. And I should say of the allotted amount. So 29, again, I played 50 lineups. Let's go ahead and do that again for those that might have missed out or just not paid attention. So 50 lineups. I wanted to play him a 1-2 and 42 to 57%. I was sold on Justin Thomas, so I wanted to play him in that higher number, but I also safeguarded myself from not playing him too much. So this 28.5, okay, 50 times, 57%, 28.5. I considered that 29. Wanted to play him in 50% of my lineups. I just played him in 1 more. I rounded up. So that's how I got on that number of ownership for JT. Thankfully, I didn't play him in 100% of my lineups because it would have sunk me, and that wouldn't have been great. So thankfully, with this process, I didn't play him in that many more lineups. Yeah, just to let you guys know, I put in $17 and I won 13, so I just lost out on 4. Lost $4 on my initial investment, which I think is pretty okay. But yeah, I really like the process this week. We see a lot of these golfers here that finished inside the top 10 for each of these buckets. And if we were to go back to kind of now, I updated the tables here for top 5, top 10. Now the old 2s step into becoming the 1s basically now for the last year bucket, and we'll continue to follow that trend. We did have 160 to 80, or one. I think that was, who was that? Kevin Kisner. Okay. So Kevin Kisner followed under this bucket. So that'll bump that number up 1 more. I still don't like it as a bucket. I'm not sure if, actually, I go by these top 10. So the top 10 table here. It does bump it up, but it is going to still be my 5th ranked ranking for here. So that's totally fine. Perfect. But yeah, I definitely updated this. Again, the did not plays the year before now take precedence. They're the higher ranked, and I'll switch this for next year. Yeah, I better. What I'm thinking of is how I'm going to change all this to look nicer, but it'll be no sweat. We'll figure it out. For the last week score, I realized I wasn't taking in 2013, so now the numbers are much more, they're just different by a lot. Because you had 10 here for the last week score in 2013. That definitely plummets this up even higher. So if you remember the preview video, if we went back 2019, I want you to just pay attention to the Tournament of Champions. So if we keep going back, you're going to keep seeing results in there. And it was almost, that was what the strategy was leading into this. That was paramount, to play a guy who played the year before, or I mean the week before at the Tournament of Champions. Of course, I don't have Russell Henley here, but going back the last 5 years, you definitely had a golfer that finished, well, who played in the Tournament of Champions, who finished first. This year, not so much. But of course, you still had it in 2014, or with Kevin Kisner. This whole group right here all played last week, which ended up being in the optimal lineup. So if those were your golfers that you liked and you're like, I just only want to play a certain amount of these, that was huge. One other thing I do want to say, I know my course history goes back to 2013. Brendan Steele has course history at this golf course, but this was the other thing that I wanted to harp on, or that I did in the preview video. You wanted course history. It just, again, if we keep going back every single year, you're going to see course history just, it's populated, it's filled for all of these tournaments. You wanted course history. And yeah, I actually played less. If I liked a golfer like Colin Morikawa, who didn't have any course history, I played him less because he didn't have course history. I'm sure DJ Trahan has some. I just don't know. Alex Noren didn't. Just looking at some notable guys here. Joaquin Niemann, he was a notable guy. A lot of people were on him because of his ball flight. Sorry, guys, but low ball flight doesn't actually mean better in the wind. You just want a good ball striker. That's the only cure for hitting, for piercing through the wind. That was a fun narrative a lot of people played on. Just, it's stupid. To hit the ball far, you need to generate backspin. And you can either, I should say this, if you hit the ball high with little backspin, you'll get distance. But the higher your swing speed is, the more backspin you're just going to put on it just naturally. And you want backspin for the ball to get in the air. So anyways, it's my 2 cents. Some people just don't understand golf, and they think, oh yeah, those stingers that Joaquin Niemann hits, that gives them an advantage at this golf course, especially if it's going to be windy. Wind just doesn't apply. So anyways, that's my 2 cents on that. Like I said, again, it was a good week. I'll continue to update the spreadsheets, and I'm kind of toying with putting out a preview video on Tuesday as opposed to Wednesday. It's just that I like adding the tee times to it, but maybe I won't. Maybe we'll just go analyze the data without the tee times, and then maybe on Wednesday I might throw something on Twitter to say of the groups that I like playing. Maybe that's how I'll do it, and then that way we can do the analysis prior to tee times coming out, and if we get on a bunch of players that we like, we can just pair them up with their playing partners. That was actually one of the other things we wanted to talk about, wasn't it? This is really interesting. I didn't even look at the starting holes or the tee times. Everyone teed off in the afternoon that was basically top 5, except, and Graeme McDowell too. That is crazy. Tee time splits were a huge deal. Wow. I didn't even think of that. I shouldn't say I didn't think of it. I just didn't apply that strategy. So what were the morning tea times? 12 o'clock to what, 2? Yeah, 12 o'clock to 2. And then your afternoon was 4:50. Crazy. Should have thought that one through. When it comes with wind, those are things you want to think about. I'm going to go ahead and hide this information. We can talk a little bit about course history last year. We already know all of this stuff. Bermuda is a good one to talk about. Kind of went down a different path of going through this review, so it's a little bit longer than it typically is. But hey, it's all good information. Here you go. That top 10 percentage. It's all filled. You have some really good top 10 Bermuda percentage right here. That only will go higher for Webb and Kevin Kisner and Ryan Palmer. Cam Smith, 9%. Didn't have, the greatest 2020 Bermuda, but I guess if you just went by this stat, you'd probably find a better outcome of scenarios for Bermuda. We can go ahead and hide this information and kind of come here and look at all of our shots gained. Now I have this all color coded. So light green is top 20, yellow is 20 to 40, orange is 40 to 60, and then light red is 60 to 80, dark red is 80 and above. So that would be basically, light green is your top 20 golfers in the field. So this is all in the field that I just stated out. You can see a bunch of colors, a bunch of different colors. Nothing stands out. Nothing. Like, a lot of people like to go by these swing metrics and talk about, we want to find golfers who are good off tee to green or off the tee, approach, around the green, putting, all that kind of stuff. I just don't see it. Light red is, this is probably middle of the pack, because I don't know if we have stats on with everyone. No. So out of 140 golfers, it's your 60 to 80. So it's your middle, basically. So anything that's orange, yellow, or green are good stats. We just see a lot of red. Nothing, just like, there's nothing that we can look at that looks, I don't know what you want to call it, determinable. That's not even a word, but nothing pops out that says these are the key stats we need to look at. This was heading into the tournament, by the way. This isn't snapshot of what the tournament is, because I don't care about that stuff. I think that's absolute garbage to analyze. I just clicked a button, then I didn't even try. Let's go back. So anyways, yeah, birdie or better. Sure, you could have found some good golfers there. You wouldn't have been on Brennan Steele. I guess if you would have went by these golfers here, you would have had 4 of the 6 golfers in the optimal lineup. So that's something. Yeah, anyways. Not much with the swing stats. Grass stats probably mattered a bit more, as I think they always do, but I'm going to leave it at that. Again, I'll try to get a preview video for the American Express next week, which used to be called the Desert Classic, what used to be called the Humana Challenge, what used to be called the Bob Hope Classic. It's in the Palm Springs area where I actually lived before, so I got to enjoy that tournament quite a bit. We'll be dealing with dormant grass, most likely, because I don't think they reseed in the wintertime, except for the fairways and the greens. So we'll see probably ryegrass for the first time in a while. Again, unless they reseed with a different grass, like the PGA made them do that or something. So we'll check it out. Again, I'll get a video out on Tuesday, hopefully. Definitely work on the spreadsheets, getting them, prepared and ready to talk about the American Express on Tuesday. So with that, appreciate you guys watching. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And again, I'll see you Tuesday. All right, bye.